My ex-boyfriend cheated on me with my elder sister. I'm feeling incredibly emotional right now and could really use some advice on what to do. Here's the situation. I'm a 19-year-old woman, and I was in a relationship with someone I'll call Sebastian, who is 20. My twin brother, Jackson, introduced us, and from the moment we met, there was a spark. Sebastian was exactly my type. Charming, attractive, and had that irresistible bad boy vibe. For me, it felt like my life was finally turning around. After years of being in care, I was reunited with my siblings, and I thought I was on the path to happiness. Looking back, I realized that my relationship with Sebastian was far from healthy. He had this way of putting me down every time I tried to better myself. He'd say things like, "You're always going to be that shitty teenager that nobody likes." And although his words stung, he'd often follow up with sweet gestures to make up for it. I convinced myself that this was the relationship I deserved, but now I see that it was toxic. I wasn't perfect either. I was possessive and borderline controlling because I was terrified of losing him. My relationships with my siblings, Jackson and my older sister Astoria, have always been complicated. Elliot, my other brother, believes that Jackson and Astoria might be harboring resentment towards me because I was raised by our mother until I was 14 before going into care. We're all half-siblings, except for Jackson and me. Our mother was an addict and not fit to be a parent, which makes our family dynamics even more strained. I'm trying to understand where everything went wrong between us, and I didn't expect Astoria to betray me like this. She was always my big sister, and I loved her, but now I'm feeling a deep, painful anger. The story took a turn today after work. I'm currently doing an apprenticeship to become a residential worker because I genuinely want to make a difference and do some good. I was exhausted but excited to surprise Astoria. I hadn't seen her in about 2 weeks, so I decided to drop by her apartment and maybe order some takeout as a treat. When I got to her place, I noticed Sebastian's car parked outside the apartment complex. I didn't think much of it at first, assuming they were just hanging out since he's friends with all my siblings except Elliot. But then I heard noises that made my stomach drop. I hoped it was just a movie playing, but as I listened, I realized the disturbing truth. They were having sex in the living room. My heart raced, and I felt sick to my core. I wanted to convince myself it was just a bad dream, but it was all too real. I couldn't just stand there, so I knocked on the door, hoping to interrupt whatever was happening. When Astoria answered, the look of shock and guilt on her face was gut-wrenching. Massive argument erupted. I was overwhelmed with emotions, anger, betrayal, heartbreak. I was so furious that I almost slapped her. Astoria tried to apologize, saying she didn't mean for things to end up like this and that she had fallen in love with Sebastian. Meanwhile, Sebastian wouldn't even meet my gaze. I called Astoria out, telling her I had lost all respect for her and that she reminded me of our mother. I knew it was the worst insult I could give her, but in the heat of the moment, it felt like the only thing I could say. She broke down in tears, and it was devastating to see her so hurt. Astoria, in her pain, called me a bitch and accused me of having everything handed to me, while she just wanted to be happy. I told her to leave, and when I got home, Jackson was waiting for me. He let me have it, saying I took things too far, and that I should understand how hard Astoria's life has been. Then he said something that cut deeper than I expected. "You know you aren't easy to love." It felt like a punch to the gut, and his words echoed all my darkest self-doubts. Right now, I'm at Elliot's house, hiding in his closet. It's dark and cramped, but it feels like a refuge where I can cry and process everything. I'm overwhelmed and heartbroken, and I'm not sure how to move forward.